Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first segment of Biohacking Your Body with Nrf2 Technology. So I know a lot of you are probably thinking, why does this chick always talk about this little yellow pill? Well, I can assure you, everybody that you know and love needs to hear this information. And so I'm so excited because I have a special guest on with me today, Kellie Lupsha. Let's see if we can bring her in. So it looks like it's connecting, guys, but I'm so stoked because who better to have you talk about Nrf2 activation, how it affects and helps with traumatic brain injury and stroke. Hi, Kellie. How are you doing?
Hello. Good. Thank you.
I can see you really well. So I'm just going to give people a background of who you are, but Kellie has her master's in physical therapy. She went to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Her and her husband, Arthur, own their own private practice in Laguna Niguel, and they are passionate about helping people that have suffered with traumatic brain injury and stroke. And so her and her husband also travel across the country and teach other therapists how to help as well. She's super excited and passionate about the wellness aspect of treating the brain. So welcome to our broadcast, Kellie.
Oh my gosh, Jenny, thank you so much for having me on. It's really a pleasure to be on with you and truly to share this information. So passionate about it. It's awesome.
Well, I'm excited to have you. So will you just give us the background? I know there's so many avenues and ways that you can help in the physical therapy aspect of things, but why did you choose primarily to work with traumatic brain injury and stroke patients? What's your passion with that, and how did that come about specifically?
Absolutely. I'm going to give a little shout out to Erin, one of the family members of a patient that I treat, just jumped on. So fun to see her. So you guys, yes, as going into physical therapy school, I really thought I would just treat athletes. I was an athlete growing up myself, and I never thought twice of anything other than sports medicine. And through school, I really realized, of course, one, the range of options out there for us to treat in. And two, I had the opportunity to have a clinical at the Mayo Clinic in rehab and learning how the effect of people's lives. I mean, granted, when you've hurt your shoulder or your back, you go to your therapist and you feel better, like super great to help people. But when you can help people after such a major medical event that truly changes their life forever and you're a part of helping their quality of life, I just became so passionate. And so really, I kind of started my career early on in rehab and treating stroke and brain injury, and I've just fell in love with it ever since.
Absolutely. So can you share with us maybe a little bit about how you're different, and you travel all over the country educating other physical therapists. What specifically does that look like, and how does that differ from maybe how other physical therapists treat their patients that have suffered with traumatic brain injury or stroke?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Jenny. And actually, when people call us up at our office, that's the number one question that they ask us. How are you different? What do you do different? And it's a very hard question just to answer in a nutshell. But for those of you that have ever gone through traditional therapy for any injury or illness, it's kind of trying to treat the symptom. And for stroke and brain injury, when people see them on presentation, it looks like their arm doesn't work or their leg doesn't work. So people just kind of think like, oh, I'm going to work their arm or their leg. Or unfortunately, a lot of our medical community still doesn't understand neuroplasticity and what the brain is capable of. And so they kind of just think like, well, whatever you're going to get back after like a year, you just have to learn to live with it. So traditional therapy really teaches a lot of people just to work with what they have if the therapists aren't able to help them regain more. But you have to have the special skill set and understanding how do you manipulate this person's brain to get the right response to see these changes. And I could not have done what I've done over my course of my career if it wasn't for my mentor. He's amazing. And the approach that I use is called Nrf2. And we see changes in patients that a lot of people don't see. And so our goal and mission is truly how to teach the brain to work with these new pathways and find the right pathways to program the body in the correct way.
Wow. That's incredible. You guys, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Kellie and Arthur now. It's been about 3 years, Kellie, is it?
Yeah.
3 years now. And so, you know, just hearing them talk about their passion and helping people that really aren't getting answers anywhere else. I know that they're just as passionate about this Nrf2 technology, you know, the little yellow pill. But, you know, Kellie, can you explain to us just how incorporating that into therapy with these people that have suffered, what the difference that has been, you know, Nrf1 and Nrf2 technology, we don't want to leave Nrf1 out. But really, what are the differences that you've seen just incorporating this sort of, you know, technology into their therapy?
For sure. Wow. I really wish I could just download my brain into all of you out there watching. But you guys, just to understand, recently, you know, through the National Institute of Health, we've cracked the genetic code, the genome. And so historically, we really never thought there was something that could make our body express genes differently. So as Jenny's talking to you about, you know, Nrf2 technology or Nrf1 technology, you know, briefly, we can talk about initially this Nrf2 technology in twofold. One, all of us, even without disease, as we're getting older, get more and more oxidative stress in the body. It's the aging process, the rusting of our cells to make it super easy, right? And so now we are learning through science and technology that even if you haven't had a major medical issue, those of us eventually through our aging process, it will lead us to something, right? So with this patient population, their aging process or the increased load of oxidative stress after they've had this traumatic event, because if you think about it, a stroke or a brain injury, imagine having the worst, you know, bruise, concussion, injury to your leg or your arm. That's happening to your brain. And being the master programmer of everything our body is doing, that in and itself can set off a whole chemical cascade in your body, but it's leading to increased levels of this oxidative stress. On top of these patients that aren't able to move their bodies or talk in a certain way, everything they're doing requires so much more energy, effort from their brain functioning, even more than you and I. And so this technology, by decreasing that load of oxidative stress, we've seen patients that maybe weren't able to say more than a few words, be able to speak a little bit more. We've seen patients whose sensation's been very impaired and maybe they have some changes in sensation. Some of the time we will see people who their overall initiation or motivation or energy is really down. They can hardly even participate.
Wow.
And it gives their body something different. And so I always said, like, gosh, for certain patients, I wish I could just like go into their brain and flip a switch. I wish I could just do something to kind of like supercharge them or basically reset their system. And what we've seen with Nrf2 technology is truly something similar to that, meaning decreasing that oxidative stress. People just have a little more clarity, focus, concentration, energy, stamina, that the brain seems to connect at a level it wasn't before. So I will say, you know, that these products and this new technology does not treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease process, you guys. It's just allowing the body to heal and repair and do what it's supposed to do. And I only wish my skill sets of a therapist were even better all the time. So to give me like this extra little edge that maybe I'm seeing changes I didn't see before is amazing. And at the same time, Jenny, what I really love is not only is it something, you know, helpful to this patient, there is no drug
Kellie, are you there?
Sorry if I pause. Yeah, am I back?
Please repeat that because I think that's an important aspect. I know you were going into drug interactions.
Yes, you know, of course, when patients see us, many of them are on lots and lots of medications. And so the first thing everybody's question is what will this do with my other medications? How will this interact? How will this interfere? And the beautiful thing about all natural products is that there is no drug interactions. The only thing that we have seen is we tell them, be sure to let your physician know that this is what you're taking. You're reducing your oxidative stress. And then therefore, sometimes they're seeing a reduction in some of their pharmaceuticals, which is amazing because many of the patients are ending up being on so many meds that kind of suppress their system.
Yes.
that coming off of some of these medications is also making a world of difference. So
that's incredible.
And let me just briefly tag on the Nrf2 product. Some of you may be familiar out there. There's a lot of discussion on what's called mitochondria or mitochondrial health. You may be familiar with Dr. David Perlmutter. He's a neurologist that's written 3 books that have been on New York Times bestseller list, as well as Dave Asprey. He's just had a huge conference called Biohacking. And what they're realizing is so much of our medicine, or so much of our body today, is the health effects are being seen by our mitochondria in our body going bad. And in a nutshell, making this not scientific at all, you guys, is our mitochondria, they are thousands and tens of thousands in every cell of the body, and they give us energy. If any of you guys have kids right now in like middle school or high school, you're going through the whole like ATP and Krebs cycle and battle the brain. But the bottom line is our mitochondria gives us energy. It's the powerhouse of the cell. And they're realizing many diseases and neurological diseases are related to dysfunctional mitochondria or poor replicating mitochondria. So if you add this Nrf2 technology, it helps boost overall building bigger, stronger mitochondria, which is also leading a lot of people to have more energy, more stamina, better sleep, and more function overall. So great things we're seeing.
Well, it sounds like that 1-2 punch, you know, like you said earlier, you know, I wish I just had that extra light switch, that extra flip of the switch to help people. So I'd like to kind of move in before we wrap it up into, you know, we're talking about traumatic brain injury and stroke, but how have you seen these products help people also in prevention, you know, in not dealing with stroke and in the future of really just giving the body what it needs to prevent issues neurologically, which I know, you know, most people are terrified of those. And even going into like the Parkinson's, dementia, all of those arenas, I mean, the brain is really where our health starts, you know, the gut and the brain. So can you explain maybe how that is important and why that is crucial for people to understand?
Oh my gosh. And, you know, I can't say there's one that's more important than the other, but oh my gosh, you guys, after working, and I just had this discussion with a mom this morning whose little boy has suffered from a stroke that I see, and the devastation on families, the patient, the families, their community, their support system, it's unbelievable. So prevention to me has become a passion of mine. And so, yes, that's a great question, Jenny, is these technologies, they can come in for all of us, and yes, they're decreasing the oxidative stress. But what I want you to understand in a bigger picture, and this isn't Kellie talking, you can go and look up research from Google Scholar or a place called PubMed.gov and see all sorts of research. But this Nrf2 technology is actually adding a protective barrier to the brain.
Wow. So,
you know, even for instance, things like concussions, if people are having an injury that potentially would lead them to a concussion, having the neurons of their brain protected may decrease their risk of concussion.
Wow.
There are people, just like you said, with Parkinson's disease, with ALS, with multiple sclerosis. These are all neurological diseases. You guys, even things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, headaches, they're all neurological disorders. And so the power of protection, I mean, could you imagine if somebody could say, hey, you give me $40 a month, and I'll decrease your risk of these diseases in the future?
Wow.
Would you say, oh, great, fabulous? I have friends. I mean, you know, we all have aging parents right now, and we're seeing those dementias and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. It's heartbreaking. And to me, right, Jenny, that you and I, next couple decades, something that could be us.
Absolutely.
And so I can't let people, you know, I want to like really let them know that before we didn't have this knowledge in prevention. So the only thing we knew technically is take your antioxidants, and we were hoping that would give us protection. But if you look at the new research, and that's what's unfortunately, new research isn't like to the public yet, like it's not popular yet. So people don't know there's a better way of protection. And I think all of us need to take charge of our own health, because our medical system isn't there to do that for us anymore. So we really need to take ownership of our health before something potentially could happen to us.
Absolutely. Well, Kellie, you've helped educate us all today. You know, I know people see our posts, and sometimes we'll post about Nrf2 technology, the little yellow pill, and all these things. And I think that we're pioneering something new. We really are at the forefront of this technology. So I really appreciate you hopping on today. I mean, I could not have explained it any better. you know, people ask all the time, well, explain this to me. And it's almost like, you know, you kind of get tongue tied, but you were absolutely incredible. I really love what you and Arthur are doing, just being on the forefront of the change